I was born with a silver spoon in my mouth. I learned the piano at 4, started ballet at 5, and was on stage singing foreign songs by the age of 6. I had the favor of my parents and a handsome fiancé. But then I had a dream. We were just supporting characters in a romance novel, and my fiancé Anthony, whom I was engaged to, was the male lead. However, the female lead was not me. The story was filled with twists and turns: a drunken handsome CEO, a female college student accidentally stumbling into his room, and their dramatic breakups and reconciliations. But why should I have to pay the price for their sweet love? I wanted to see for myself. Once the proud CEO Lou lost the Lou Group, whether his delicate wife would still stay by his side in the name of true love. Chapter 1. I woke up from the dream, but the events still played in my mind like a movie from a past life. I was always proud. Yet for Anthony, I had lost my senses. I fell so hard in love that I couldn't let go easily. I fought Natalie tooth and nail. She might have been a silly girl, but she had such incredible luck that I lost miserably. In the end, I angered Anthony. He intentionally suppressed all of Ning Group's businesses, forcing my father into a heart attack and leaving my mother depressed and ill. I had no choice but to kneel before them, begging for mercy. But nothing, not our childhood together, not the bond of our engagement, could compare to Natalie, who, with one light sentence, "Don't just cut the grass, pull up the roots, or it will grow back in the spring," destroyed everything. I jumped from the rooftop, feeling the pain of broken bones and an all-consuming hatred. Why should I pay for their love? Don't tell me that the one who is not loved in a love triangle is the mistress. Love doesn't have to be about who came first or last. But there's still a matter of decency. He was engaged to me, yet he was fooling around with another woman, enjoying the support of my family, and even had a child with her. I've never been the kind, magnanimous person people think I am. I'm a businesswoman. Chapter 2. Miss Ning, here's the information you requested. Since that dream, I began investigating this Natalie girl, a regular college student, sweet in appearance, innocent and carefree. If you ask me, she's a bit foolish. As expected, the files revealed that 3 months ago, this Natalie had gone to a birthday party with some classmates. She went to the restroom, accidentally entered the 27th floor presidential suite, and the next day, she left in a hurry, her clothes disheveled. As anticipated, Anthony had gotten drunk at the party and was escorted back to the hotel by his assistant. The private investigator handed me a stack of medical reports, saying, "Miss Ning, I hope you'll pay a little extra for this." The report clearly showed that Natalie was pregnant. I didn't hesitate, placing a card on the table. No password. "Miss Ning, you're straightforward. I'll add one more thing, this girl's not quite all there." After finding out she was pregnant, she decided to keep the baby, but her parents disagreed. So, with the help of her backup senior, she dropped out and moved abroad. "You don't need to worry about that. When we need you, we'll contact you." I knew that 3 years later, Natalie would return with her smart little boy in tow. Then, an accidental encounter would rekindle the fire between Anthony and her. He'd realize he had a 3-year-old son with her. Then would come the sweet pursuit of reconciliation. He'd even spend big money to launch Natalie into the entertainment industry, making her famous and showering her with the audience's blessings, while they'd live their sweet, double-flighted life. But I wouldn't let them have their way. Since Natalie wanted to enter the entertainment world, I'd establish my own entertainment company, specializing in sweet, innocent actresses. Over the next 3 years, I would focus on expanding my family's business. Every collaboration with the Liu Group would be fiercely negotiated for every penny. And I wouldn't be soft just because I was engaged to Anthony. Don't assume we're all on equal footing just because of a contract. What's yours is mine. But what's mine is still mine. My father even advised me not to work so hard. After all, I had already graduated early and taken over the family business, which made them incredibly proud. Chapter 3. But I kept track of each day until Natalie would return. I personally supervised the artists under my management, controlling their public image to be innocent and carefree, unafraid of the powerful. I picked the girl who resembled Natalie the most, used some connections, and sent her straight to Liu Group. I told her it was an opportunity for practice. If she performed well, She could land a leading role in a major IP project. Of course, my hidden expectation was that if she could captivate the CEO, it would be a bonus. The girl, Lisa, was said to have been directly recommended to the CEO's office assistant position with my referral letter. On her first day, she brought the CEO coffee but accidentally spilled it on his expensive custom suit. Lisa looked at him with a pitiful yet stubborn expression. So what if you're rich? You can't insult my dignity. We are equals as people. It's just a suit. I'll clean it for you. The next day, Lisa printed out a meeting document, but because she wasn't familiar with the high-end printer, she accidentally sent the file to the shredder. Lisa wiped away her tears, clenched her fist, and cheered herself on. Lisa, come on, you can do it. On the third day, Lisa tripped and fell, only to be caught by the CEO. The two locked eyes for a long while, sparks seeming to fly. Anthony grinned wickedly. Hey, you foolish woman. I'm not hey. I'm Lisa, and I'm not stupid. You're the one who's a fool. You pig. You pig. It's said that Lisa frequently made mistakes at work, causing her colleagues to start isolating her. But she was like an unkillable cockroach, her eyes brimming with tears, still cheering herself on. Lisa, come on. She never blamed anyone for their indifference or isolation, living with passion and energy, which made Anthony particularly intrigued. I heard she was promoted to be his personal assistant in a special exception. As I listened to my assistant's report, I couldn't help but think back to the dream. Didn't Natalie exactly attract my fiancé's attention like this? To devote myself fully to the business, to secure the future of Ning Group. I gave up the life of a pampered princess. I gave up ballet, piano, and violin. And with the memories from my dream, I expanded Ning Group's influence and ventured into the entertainment industry. I boldly signed several future stars, bought the rights to several major upcoming IPs, but I kept these moves low-key. Someone once said, a princess relies on her parents, a princess consort relies on her husband, but I want to be a queen who relies on herself. Chapter 4. After finally giving myself a weekend off, I received an invitation to a family dinner at the Liu household. Anthony and I had been childhood friends, and his mother had always supported our relationship. She had already treated me like a daughter-in-law and told me that if her son ever bullied me, I should let her know, and she'd back me up. But I still remembered her cold and proud look when Ning Group went bankrupt. Elizabeth, love cannot be forced. Anthony doesn't like you, and there's nothing I can do about it. I hope you can come to terms with this. I knew. She simply thought that, as a bankrupt person, I wasn't good enough for her son. Conveniently, her son didn't like me either, and I was just the persistent and shameless pest. As I drove, I couldn't help but sneer at the thought. Just as I reached a red light at an intersection, I slammed on the brakes, and suddenly an old lady appeared by the roadside, clutching her chest, groaning as she slowly collapsed. I hadn't hit her, no way. With years of experience, I could tell she was a pro. She had timed it perfectly, knowing I was distracted and that I would stop just in time. I didn't rush to get out of the car. Instead, I rolled up the window and called the police. Knock, knock, knock. The window was sharply tapped. I smiled and slowly rolled it down. What a coincidence. Natalie had returned earlier than expected. The woman, who clearly didn't recognize me, was holding up her phone to record, while tugging at a young boy who looked about 3 years old. Excuse me, miss. Please get out of the car. You hit someone just now. I frowned. If I really had hit someone, she wouldn't be lying on the ground under my car. She'd have flown off. Miss, don't try to lie. We're live streaming. If you don't want to be famous, you'd better take responsibility. The 3-year-old boy spoke fluently, with a tone that carried a hint of threat. So this was Anthony's son. Honestly, it was hard to miss. Given he was a mini version of Anthony, a crowd had gathered on the street, and upon hearing mother and son's words, they began to express their outrage. Oh no, look, it's a Land Rover, a luxury car. Some rich people really don't value ordinary people's lives. The crowd began muttering, criticizing me, even though they hadn't seen what happened. But because the old lady had fallen, did that mean rich people could just ignore it? Hearing the crowd defend me, Natalie straightened her back, her tone righteous. Please get out of the car and help the old lady up. Take responsibility for what you did. I knew that if I didn't handle this well, it would be a PR nightmare and could hurt Ning Group's reputation. I swiftly got out of the car, walked to the front, and saw that the old lady had no injuries. I picked up the phone and dialed, Luna. Get me a lawyer and prepare the money. Just as I hung up, Natalie's face turned red with anger. What kind of attitude is that? What kind of attitude do you want from me? I stared at her holding the phone. Miss, recording me without permission is an infringement of privacy, especially when you're live streaming. To deal with people like you, who think you're above others just because you were born with a silver spoon and have money, the best response is this. I gave her a side eye, dismissing her like air, and walked up to the old lady. 200,000. Is that enough to satisfy you? Seeing the wild joy in her eyes, I answered a call from the lawyer. Yeah, I just killed an old lady. Yeah. She popped up suddenly. I couldn't break in time. The old lady suddenly changed her expression. Furious. You little girl. So young, and with such a venomous mouth. Who said I was killed? Natalie looked just as shocked, not understanding why I said that. I gave her a cold smile, the kind that didn't reach my eyes. 200,000 guarantees her future. No need for her to come to me in the future with any ailments or pains. How troublesome. That's right. What I meant was that it would be better if I'd killed her. I'd just pay the money and be done with it. The crowd gasped in shock at my cold words. The old lady hesitated, still not fully believing me. Murderer, you'll go to jail. It was just a traffic accident. If you pay a little more to get a letter of understanding, we can settle it. How about 300,000? I'm sure your family will be fine with that. I said that as I got back in the car. The headlights flicked on, and the old lady jumped up in shock, cursing in a dialect before running off. The crowd murmured, and the police arrived late, took a report, and left. I saw Natalie and the little boy still on the roadside. I rolled down the window and smiled gently. Goodbye, kind miss. Then I drove off, leaving them behind. But I didn't know that at this moment. The little boy was asking, Mommy, was that old lady lying? Natalie forced a smile and turned off the live stream. She squatted down and patted her son's head. Even so, that lady's attitude was cold, and her words were harsh. We shouldn't learn from her. Natalie's tone was gentle and firm, as if warning her son, or perhaps herself, to hold on to kindness. When I later checked her live stream account, I found that she already had tens of thousands of followers. Her righteous live stream had, of course, caused a spike in views. As expected, many started attacking me, but occasionally someone would post, "We don't know the whole story." Not commenting, those people were quickly criticized and labeled as laundry powder. But as the footage showed the old lady darting into the crowd, the public opinion shifted. The barrage of comments quickly turned around. Wow, this old lady was really a scammer. First floor, this sister is so cool. A fierce and beautiful rich girl. I love her. Second floor, delete the comment on the first floor. Let me post. Third floor, I know her. She's the current CEO of Ning Group, Elizabeth. Fourth floor, dignified and composed. A true beauty. I'm in love. I smiled. Nice to meet you. Thanks for the popularity boost. Natalie. Seeing my followers skyrocket on social media, I quickly posted about the upcoming Ning Group investments and films. Riding the wave of attention. Chapter 5. When I arrived at the Liu family's mansion, Mrs. Liu personally came to greet me, immediately taking my hand with warmth. Elizabeth, you've gotten even more beautiful lately. I've missed you so much. I smiled politely and mentioned that I've been busy with work. She praised how Anthony and I were well matched. Both hardworking, smart, determined, and excellent in every way. Looking into her eyes, filled with genuine affection, I couldn't help but feel a sense of detachment. How could someone so warm become so cold and distant later? The thought left a bitter taste in my mouth. I quickly found an excuse to leave but bumped into Anthony just as I was about to go. Mrs. Liu smiled. Anthony, look, Elizabeth is here. You two were inseparable as kids. Always had so much to talk about. Young people always have their topics. I didn't know how Mrs. Liu could speak so affectionately. even with Anthony's obvious impatience. "You're here?" Anthony's voice was sharp with annoyance. "I came to see Mrs. Liu." Seeing his familiar yet distant face, I realized I didn't like him as much as I thought I did. Perhaps in my dream, I lost my mind because I never faced real setbacks, and I wasn't willing to lose to a woman like Natalie, who was inferior in every way. "Elizabeth, is your family involved in the entertainment industry?" Before I could answer, he continued, "I have a friend who wants to enter the entertainment industry." "You? Sure. What's her name?" I answered before he could finish. "As expected," he said, "her name is Natalie." "No." I couldn't help but cut him off. I wasn't about to make things easy for him. It seemed Natalie had not only returned to the country early but had met Anthony already. I didn't expect Lisa to be able to defeat someone like Natalie, especially since Natalie already had a child, but I hoped she would at least make them look less special. Seeing his face darken, I smiled happily. Anyone can. But not her. Why not? His complete lack of respect for his fiancée, just for a stranger, made me less inclined to be civil. "This girl tried to scam me. I have a very bad impression of her." "You're lying. She's not what you say she is. Can't you stop being so mean and selfish?" "Anthony, I'm your fiancé. You'd rather believe a stranger than me?" I feigned hurt. "I'm just talking about the matter at hand." "Am I lying?" "You're defending her. What's your relationship with her?" I argued. He told me to leave if I couldn't help. Finally, I had the chance to leave. A good day of rest should have been spent shopping with my best friend. Chapter 6. My best friend Luciana quickly arrived at my car, looking completely dejected. I joked, "Did your boyfriend cheat on you?" "Don't joke. I don't even have a boyfriend." "Then why do you look like you've been drained of your life energy by a demon?" "It's my brother," she said, her face turning serious. "He's cut ties with the family." "For a woman?" I was surprised. Mary is a pretentious coquette. Knowing full well my brother is married and still keeps pestering him, she says it's true love and that love will bring people together naturally. Ugh. I'm about to puke. He's now planning to divorce my sister-in-law, and my mom and I are against it. He's threatening to cut ties with us. I sighed. Mistresses are everywhere, but this year especially. I told Luciana about my issues with Natalie, and she immediately began cursing the scumbag. But after ranting, she said helplessly, "Elizabeth, I really envy you. You have your own career and don't need to rely on a scumbag. But my brother, if we cut ties, it's like we'll be bankrupt. You're no slouch either. Remember the illegitimate child in your family who almost took half of the Ming family's assets? You handled that, didn't you? That was family drama. But I'm a girl. I'm a girl too," I retorted. "Who says women can't inherit the family business?" I pinched Luciana's face. "Your brother's blinded by lust. He may have 30% of the shares. But you, your mom, and your sister-in-law together have more, right?" Luciana seemed enlightened, and I added, "With our long friendship, I'll definitely help you." Luciana had been confined by her family's views. Back in college, we studied the same major, but since they had a son, she'd always assumed the business would go to him, and she'd only need to stay behind the scenes. Plan first, act later. It's much more effective. I encouraged her, as expected, even though I rejected supporting Natalie. Anthony's CEO-style extreme pampering made him go to great lengths to push her into the industry. Private investigators had sent me videos of them flirting and even their first meeting, which had been a strange misunderstanding. The confused girl had thought she was dealing with a thug and called the police. Catching Anthony's attention, after realizing the mistake, Natalie felt guilty and began sending him heart-shaped breakfasts every day. The two's relationship slowly became ambiguous. This Natalie was much more impressive than Lisa. While Lisa tripped and fell into the CEO's arms, Natalie tripped and kissed him. One kiss and the man's memory was triggered. "Oh, it's you! Finally found you. Woman!" They flirted loudly, but I didn't have time to join in. However, I found someone else. Luciana had reminded me of Liu family's old man's illegitimate son. I didn't expect Anthony to buy an entertainment company just to sign Natalie as their only artist. Chapter 7. The big-budget fantasy film Immortal Sword had Natalie inevitably cast as the female lead. Although she was a newcomer, She had an ethereal quality and a resilient charm that worked in her favor. I couldn't just sit back and let things happen. How could I let my role as the villainess go unnoticed? So, at the same time Immortal Sword finished filming, I had already prepared my low-budget, high-potential movie Second Life of Peach Blossom for release. Both were fantasy films, but mine would be a direct competitor. Unlike their complete reliance on new actors, I had cast veteran second-tier actress Lily as the lead, with a few newly signed talents from my company as well. I planned for it to air in March, and privately, even Anthony called me, subtly suggesting that I delay the release of Second Life of Peach Blossom by a few days. But would I listen? That's a joke. Delaying the release by even a day would mean losing an immeasurable number of viewers to Immortal Sword, and who would still watch another fantasy drama at the same time? If it were the old me, I might have compromised, but now I am New Hulu Elizabeth. During the promotional period, the two massive projects battled fiercely, and Immortal Sword was particularly aggressive, buying trending spots and releasing a promotional video. It featured Natalie dancing in the film, a stunning scene of her in a flowing white dress, walking gracefully through a sea of flowers, her every movement mesmerizing, and the scenery breathtaking. Instantly, a massive wave of fans and traffic surged. Such a fairy-like sister, so enchanting. I'm in love. Natalie is a real goddess descending from heaven. I'm definitely watching Immortal Sword now. Quickly, Natalie shot to fame from being a small unknown. The popularity of Immortal Sword overshadowed Second Life of Peach Blossom, and I could already see the loss coming. Even Luciana called me, upset. Your guy's helping too much. Doesn't he care about you? His fiancée? My assistant, with a not-so-pleased expression, handed me the data, and I opened my phone to see that the first trending topic was the video of Natalie dancing. The heat didn't die down all day. No one could seriously believe this wasn't being pushed by someone with brains. Are our new artists rehearsing? I suddenly asked my assistant. She seemed confused but took me to the rehearsal room. There, I saw a group of youthful, beautiful girls, all quite the eye candy. Would you like to debut early? Being a trainee was exhausting, long hours of dancing, performing in minor roles all over, public performances with few viewers. So when I said this, they all eagerly looked at me. Yes. Just like Lisa, who was doing well. I had signed her as one of my artists. She was the lead in our next campus drama. I sent a video to the big screen and proposed that the company would cover all the clothing and travel expenses if they could make a splash with their dance video. The one who gained the most fans this year would debut. It was like a windfall for them. After all, dancing like flying swans, elegant and poised, was their skill. To become famous, they were bound to explode with potential. Chapter 8. The next day, dance imitations started trending on the internet. As expected, they were mercilessly criticized by netizens. They can't compare to Miss Natalie's ethereal dance. It's like copying a poor imitation. But to everyone's surprise, more and more imitations kept popping up, and the production value kept getting better. Some of the trainees were even more beautiful than Natalie, while others danced more skillfully and gracefully. Some added a twist, dancing on a cliff in red, full of heroic spirit and ancient charm. At first, people criticized them, but as they danced better and looked even more beautiful, it was hard to keep up the criticism. After all, their dances were truly superior. Sorry, but when you compare, you can't blame anyone. It's like the ringtone principle. When you first hear a song you love and set it as your ringtone, you listen to it every day until you get tired of it. It's the same with the once beautiful dance. It starts to seem plain after seeing so many imitations. After all, there are better dancers out there. So why would anyone want to keep watching yours? With the fairy-like filter broken, all that was left was Natalie's acting. As the lead in Immortal Sword, she wasn't exactly a seasoned actress. Compared to the veteran actors around her, her acting was painful to watch. Soon, she was labeled with the face paralysis title, and it became something she couldn't escape. If she had done a few smaller web dramas to hone her acting skills, maybe she could have taken on this big project without issue. But Anthony wasn't paying enough attention to her, and his precious little girl, Natalie, wasn't exactly a new face in this situation. She'd already made mistakes, like spilling coffee on the CEO. Immortal Sword's poor reception due to the lead's lackluster acting led many viewers to cancel their tickets and head to the next theater to cleanse their eyes. The new lead of Second Life of Peach Blossom, Lily, was lively and full of comedic expressions, leaving fans begging for more. First round, small victory for me. Heh. As for Natalie, fans of the original work who didn't like the change to the female lead went on a rampage, questioning why a newcomer like her was cast in such a big IP movie. And as always, modern netizens were relentless. Soon, the truth came out: Natalie was a resource-rich actress, and the lead role had been decided long before the official announcement. Chapter 9. Why? Why are you doing this? I didn't need you to do this at all. Natalie was being ruthlessly criticized, and it was only now that she realized she hadn't earned her role through talent, but that Anthony had secretly invested in the project. She hated this kind of behavior, where money meant you could do whatever you wanted, and now, she was being roasted for it. Is money everything? Does having money give you the right to do whatever you want? Anthony couldn't bring himself to scold Natalie directly, so he ended up blaming Elizabeth for being so sinister, for being so aggressive. She had managed to create a competing fantasy drama with a similar level of hype to Immortal Sword, making it impossible for Natalie, a fresh face, to compete with those seasoned veterans who had been in the industry for years. As the curve on the computer continued to climb, the phone on the desk began to ring, with Anthony's name boldly flashing on the screen. I could guess without thinking that Anthony was calling to scold me on behalf of Natalie, but I wasn't in the mood to listen to his nonsense. I hung up immediately. Anthony, however, was persistent. Messages that hadn't been answered in ages suddenly flooded in. What are you doing? Why aren't you picking up the phone? Elizabeth, you've done something really good. You always act like you can't be shaken, but now that you've caused trouble, you actually dare to hang up on me? Ugh, I forgot to block his messages. Mr. Liu, we can't do this. We need to maintain some distance. Think about your fiancée. She's the one who really deserves you. Natalie pushed Anthony's embrace away, though her heart was full of mixed emotions. This man was so handsome and considerate, and he was the father of her child. But why was it so unfair? Miss Ning had so much already, yet she still had to monopolize this man. Natalie, stop pretending you love me, or else why would tears be flowing down your face? The man held her tightly, his kiss fierce, igniting another passionate moment. After their sweaty encounter, Anthony wrapped his arms around the woman and disdainfully said, Elizabeth is just like the other women, vulgar and dull, only concerned with business interests. She's nothing like you, who can give me tenderness and love. Natalie, stay by my side. I'll give you a title, and our child too. Natalie's heart warmed, a glimmer of hope forming. If they truly loved each other, why couldn't they be together? The two exchanged sweet words, and as Immortal Sword slipped away from his hands, Anthony quickly cast Natalie as the lead in a new campus idol drama. He hadn't planned things carefully before, but now he realized Natalie's pure, cute aura was perfect for the role of the sweet goddess. Natalie hesitated and refused. I love you. Not your money. I don't want it. Anthony threatened. If you don't take it, I'll kiss you until you do. And then, another passionate kiss followed. Natalie's face flushed with embarrassment, but she reluctantly took the script and tried to run away, only to be held back. You've put so much effort into this, and you're not going to reward me? This part can be left to the imagination. I knew exactly what was going on between Natalie and Anthony. I even heard that Natalie had taken their child to meet Anthony and arranged a private parent-child outing at an amusement park, a huge, extravagant gesture. Naturally, people from our circle had whispered about it to me several times. Even Anthony's mother made a point to come to me, stating that she would never allow such a girl to become her daughter-in-law, and that she was still most satisfied with me. How laughable. She probably hadn't even met her grandson yet. After their meeting, I'm sure she softened a little. Especially after dreaming of holding a cute and clever boy in her arms, she seemed quite taken with the idea, even growing more tolerant of Natalie. Chapter 10. My good friend Luciana couldn't stand it anymore, so she secretly went to confront Natalie. Her fiery personality hadn't changed, and I was a bit worried. As expected, before she could even say much, Luciana managed to scare Natalie so badly that she fell to the ground, breaking the glass she was holding and cutting her hand. Anthony timely arrived, furious, and slapped Luciana hard, even going so far as to cancel a major collaboration with Ming family's eldest son. It was a clear display of, "You touch my woman, and I'll break you." Luciana came running to me, venting her frustration. "Damn it. That girl is so fake. I just told her not to be a mistress, and she told me it's true love. I told her it's still being a mistress, and she fell down out of nowhere. I swear, Anthony couldn't have arrived that quickly. He definitely set this up. That little pretentious coquette acted all innocent on purpose. It was all staged." I looked at her bruised face and listened to her curse Natalie, but I couldn't help feeling a warmth in my heart. I went to the fridge to grab an ice pack to soothe her. She protested, "It's nothing, honestly." I'm thinking Anthony's timely arrival might have been a blessing in disguise. He just ruined a huge collaboration with my brother, and all the early investments will never see returns. The shareholders are going to destroy him. I laughed, shaking my head. "So, what now? Your brother might be out there plotting to beat you up right now." Luciana fired back. "Who's afraid of him now? My sister-in-law is the biggest shareholder now, and that fox woman has him completely wrapped around her finger, spending all his money on her. People have already started to get fed up. I've learned a lot from my sister-in-law. Once the time is right, I'll kick my brother out. If he can't be the heir of the Ming family, what's the point of supporting that mistress?" Little Luciana's got ambition. I handed her some information on Mary and looked her in the eyes. "Know yourself and your enemy, and you'll never be defeated." I never expected Luciana to be so capable. Just 6 months later, she really helped her sister-in-law oust her brother from the family. And when Ming family's eldest son got kicked out, the first thing he did was go running to his beloved woman, Mary, seeking comfort. After all, the usually untouchable Ming family heir, who had never faced such setbacks, just wanted to be with his loved one and plot his comeback. Of course, Mary welcomed Ming family's eldest son, but the next day, she was already borrowing a place to stay from her best friend, claiming that since they weren't officially together, they couldn't have any physical contact. And he actually believed her. Don't ask me how I know, because Mary's best friend wasn't just anyone, it was none other than Natalie. Truly, fate will always bring enemies together, and foxes always gather in the same den. Anthony made a statement, "I'll never let Natalie and her child suffer." To me, it sounded like, "Guess my childhood sweetheart fiancé deserves to wear a green hat." Using my family's investment support for her future son-in-law, all to prop up his beloved? What a saint! I hastened preparations to pull out investments from the Liu family and began collecting evidence of Liu Xiao's tax evasion and shady business dealings. Meanwhile, I heard that Natalie had starred in the campus romance dramas Sweet Meteor Shower and Cute Girls Reversal Garden, rapidly gaining popularity as the pure and sweet goddess in the eyes of the audience. As for whether she bought trending topics on social media, I have no idea. I was busy focusing on my own career. By the end of the year, Natalie won the Best Actress award, and at the same time, her relationship with Anthony had progressed even further. It was time for me to make my move. Chapter 11. Nighttime was the peak of internet surfing and the most intense moment for trending topics. While Natalie was basking in her new award and flowers, another shocking headline appeared on the trending list. Pure goddess Natalie pregnant before marriage, destroying other people's relationship. Shocking! New rising star has a 3-year-old son. Father's identity is unclear. We've got a real show on our hands. This was exactly the kind of chaos I was hoping for. If a struggling, unknown actress had been accused of being the other woman, no one would care. But when a newly crowned goddess of the entertainment world is involved in such a scandal, it's a whole other story. Everyone was up in arms. Just as Natalie was worshipped by thousands and showered with the affection of the capital, she was suddenly thrust into a whirlwind of public outrage. One shocking photo after another made it impossible to deny the situation. In one set of photos, a barefaced Natalie was seen picking up a 3-year-old boy from kindergarten, holding his hand intimately as they walked together. Natalie's fans tried to defend her. So what? Couldn't this be a relative? But parents from the kindergarten chimed in. The child calls Natalie mom. Fans of Natalie didn't take kindly to the accusations. So what if she has a kid? Why does it concern you? Can't anyone have a child? Then came the next bombshell. A passerby posted a photo grid. Do you recognize the man in this photo? Kissing Natalie? It's Liu Xiao, the CEO of Liu Corporation. The photo had caught them in a passionate kiss under a tree in the afternoon, right in the community where Natalie lived. This sent shockwaves through the public. After all, Liu Xiao was already publicly engaged to Ning family's eldest daughter, Elizabeth. And their engagement photos were all over the internet. Everyone knew that Elizabeth was the legitimate fiancée, the real wife. The onlookers reacted quickly. One commenter wrote, "Wait a minute. Does Liu Xiao know about that 3-year-old? Could it possibly be his kid?" Another responded, "I think that's a valid suspicion, but let's not talk about it." Someone else, not holding back, posted a new image. Haha, I wasn't going to post this, but I'm scared of her fans attacking me. In the 1001st comment, oh my god, what kind of pretentious coquette have I been supporting? I'm unfollowing her now. This is disgusting. They were seen eating street food together, taking the child to an amusement park. It was all out in the open, and they were anything but low-key. One scandal after another broke, with irrefutable evidence making everyone's stomach churn with the drama. Many fans unfollowed her, venting their frustration all over the comment sections on social media, cursing and digging up old posts. I couldn't help but notice how strange it was. Despite this massive public uproar, neither Natalie nor Anthony had made any response. I was starting to wonder if they had a plan, but it turned out I had overestimated them. The two of them were simply playing the couple in their own little world game to avoid any interference. They didn't even pick up calls from their assistants. Chapter 12. Anthony, in his own twisted way, called it a celebration dinner for Natalie's Baidu Flower Award win. But for Natalie, the evening was nothing short of a mental tug-of-war. Part of her felt guilty, knowing she shouldn't be doing this, but another part of her couldn't resist the desire to share her joy with Anthony. It was just dinner, she kept telling herself, just this one time. As if things couldn't get more ridiculous, Anthony pulled out a luxurious diamond necklace, intending to personally drape it around her neck. Natalie hesitated, her face flushed with embarrassment as she murmured through tears, "I'm scared. I can't accept this." But despite her reluctance, he still fastened it around her neck, looking into her eyes with a grin. "Natalie, you're beautiful." He leaned in and kissed her. Natalie struggled for a moment, but ultimately, she gave in, unable to resist the romantic atmosphere, the candlelight, the beauty of the diamonds, the tenderness in his gaze. Just then, I arrived. I saw them in the middle of a passionate embrace. The sight was so painful I could hardly contain myself. I was furious, but also pleased that it was time to expose them. I quickly turned on a live stream and pretended not to be noticed, my heart feigning shock and heartbreak as I shouted, "What are you doing? How can you do this to me?" The moment the words left my mouth, both of them froze. Natalie gasped, scrambling behind Anthony, while he turned to glare at me with a dark expression, his voice full of anger. "Get out!" But I wasn't going anywhere. Not this time. Not after all I had endured. After all, I'd begged for mercy in front of them in my past life and still didn't get a happy ending. Before I could even speak, Luciana barged into the room, furious. "How dare you yell at my best friend? You arrogant bastard. We didn't come here for tea. We came to catch you red-handed. You disgusting man." Her words stung, but I couldn't help but feel a little proud. She was firing on all cylinders. "And you," she snapped, turning on Natalie. "You little pretentious coquette bitch. Think you can hide? You're done now. We've got everything on tape. Let's see how your fans defend you now. You're nothing but a homewrecker." For once, I was glad to see Luciana channeling her anger into something useful. They only then realized I had been live streaming. Anthony's face twisted with rage as he roared, "Who the hell told you to turn that on? Elizabeth. I'm ordering you to turn it off now." Natalie was beside herself with tears, her voice shaking with fury and frustration. "How can you do this? You're violating my privacy and my rights." "I didn't." I cut her off. "Privacy rights? Funny. I remember the first time we met. You were the one who filmed me when I was being attacked by a fake old woman. uploading it and leading a whole campaign against me. And now you have the nerve to complain about privacy? Her face paled as I delivered the words with icy precision. So, is this the part where you only allow yourself to break the rules, but no one else can? She opened her mouth to respond, but couldn't find the words. Instead, she just burst into tears. Each tear seemed to pierce Anthony like a dagger, but it only seemed to fuel his rage. He slammed my phone away from me, shouting, "Elizabeth, you're going too far. If you have a problem, take it up with me. Natalie has nothing to do with this." Luciana, who had been watching all of this unfold, nearly bit her tongue off trying to hold back a laugh. But Anthony's glare quickly stopped her. "She has nothing to do with this?" I mocked. "She's not the one who secretly had your child, right?" Both of their eyes widened, caught off guard by my words. "Well, guess what? It's not a secret anymore. Everyone knows that Natalie's your mistress now." "You weren't exactly subtle about it," I added, delivering a heavy blow. Anthony looked like he wanted to lash out, but was hesitant. His anger boiled over, but there was a trace of fear in his eyes. Then, out of nowhere, Natalie spoke, stepping forward, tears still streaming down her face. "Ning. Why are you doing this? Don't you see? He doesn't love you. He never will." I laughed bitterly. "So, this is your true love? What a joke." "True love?" Anthony sneered. "No one will love someone like you, Elizabeth. You wouldn't understand." "Of course I don't understand," I snapped back. "How could I? People like you, who throw all morals and boundaries aside, get pregnant out of wedlock, and still call it love, are beyond me." "You don't get it," Natalie shouted, her voice trembling with righteous anger. "We couldn't control ourselves. We were meant to be together." "Really?" I said, smirking. "Funny how you couldn't control yourselves walking into Anthony's suite, even though it was on the 8th floor and the party was on the ground floor. That's one hell of a mistake for two people who couldn't control themselves, right?" Her face twisted with guilt as I pressed on. "And how about the night of your accidental tryst? You were sober, weren't you? You walked in and stayed the night, but couldn't leave?" "That's because..." "Okay, next question." I cut her off. "As a university student, why didn't you take precautions? Why didn't you report it? Instead, you left your studies, abandoned your family, and gave birth to a stranger's child?" Her voice quivered as she muttered, "It's a life. I couldn't just let it go." Her eyes were full of tears, but this time I didn't feel a shred of sympathy. "You say you couldn't bear to part with the child, so you deliberately kept him for 3 years before bringing him to Anthony. At that age, children become attached to their mothers. They start recognizing faces. Perfect age to ensure no one could separate you. Just an accident, right?" Her face turned pale as I pushed her further into a corner. She broke down into uncontrollable sobs, rushing into Anthony's arms. I didn't mean to." "Why are you accusing me?" she cried. "Why can't you just let me live in peace?" "Fuck. This woman is devious," Luciana muttered, shaking her head. It was then that Anthony's rage flared again. He stormed towards me, his voice threatening. "You think you're so clever, don't you? You think you can play these games with me? You've underestimated me, Elizabeth. Get out now." "Anthony," Luciana interrupted, her voice venomous. "You've lost it. You've been manipulated from the start. Do you even see it? This woman's been playing you from day one." Meanwhile, Natalie, her face still wet with tears, turned to Anthony. Her voice broke. "If I had known it would be like this, I would have raised my child on my own. I don't need anyone else." Her tears flowed like a broken dam. And yet, the sadness felt so contrived, so calculated. I know, people like Ning think we're beneath them, but her words are just too much for me. "I'm leaving," Natalie whimpered, but there was no real conviction in her voice. "I can't live without you," Anthony pleaded, his voice cracking with desperation. "I believe in you. Always." I heard their conversation at the door as I walked out, a mix of anger and amusement flashing through me. Luciana and I exchanged looks before rolling our eyes simultaneously. Chapter 13. Well, as they say, Karma always catches up with the bad guys. Luciana, in her own accidental way, tipped off the media about Natalie and Anthony's location. The luxurious villa complex couldn't keep the hordes of reporters at bay. There were those who scaled the walls, slipped in with bribes, or claimed to be visiting relatives. And of course, all of them had the same goal, the hottest scoop of the moment. The affair between the CEO of Lou Corporation and the entertainment industry's new pure goddess was just too irresistible. No matter how you spun it, either headline would set the world ablaze. One reporter, particularly nimble, managed to climb up the balcony and capture photographs of the two of them in a compromising, intimate position, disheveled, tangled up in each other's arms. Before Lou Corporation could even get their public relations team on the case, the images were already all over the news. The impact was immediate. Lou Corporation's stock prices plummeted. The public backlash was brutal. Wave after wave of criticism. Natalie, faced with a microphone and camera shoved in her face by reporters, paled as if she might collapse at any moment. How could she face all those eyes, glittering with both disdain and curiosity, waiting for her every word, ready to tear apart anything she said? How did things get this far? She stammered, flustered and unable to respond to the relentless barrage of questions. Her voice cracked as she repeated, "It's not what you think." In the end, there was only one resolution. Natalie announced her exit from the entertainment industry, and her public career came to a close. I set down the tablet that had been streaming Natalie's tearful interview, sipping some warm water to calm my nerves. A small sigh of relief escaped me. It was inevitable that the Ning and Liu families would break their engagement. As for the fall of Liu Corporation, it was a project I had worked on with Ming's help. The Liu family despised Natalie for the scandal she'd caused, and her disastrous impact on the company, especially Liu's mother, who had been adamantly against the idea of Natalie becoming part of the family. Yet, as much as she loathed her, Liu's mother couldn't bear to lose her grandson, so she grudgingly allowed Natalie to stay. However, it didn't take long for Liu's mother to start using Natalie as little more than a servant. She'd demand that Natalie wash dishes, mop floors, and do laundry under the guise of saving the laundry from being ruined by the machine. But poor Natalie, whether truly clueless or playing dumb, managed to break something every time. The dishes would inevitably slip from her hands and shatter, or her fingers would get cut while washing. The mopping wasn't any better. She'd slip and fall, once even causing Liu's mother to tumble and almost get injured. Though no ambulance was called, the laundry was another disaster. The delicate, custom-made shirts were all ruined, stained in colors that didn't belong. Liu's mother, furious beyond reason, screamed, "Get out, now!" In reward for her efforts, Liu's mother abandoned all pretense of politeness and, with her red-tipped nails, physically lashed out at Natalie. Natalie, always in tears, never protested. Instead, she'd hide the bruises and scratches, crying quietly to Anthony later. At first, Anthony tried to comfort her, but as his career faltered, with mounting pressure from both the Ming and Ning families, he had little time or energy to manage his relationship with both women. One evening, at a high-profile social gathering, Natalie, ever clueless about etiquette, made a mess of things again. She was seen chatting intimately with a married man, who even draped his jacket over her shoulders. This, of course, triggered the wrath of the man's wife. In front of everyone, Anthony finally snapped. "Can't you learn from Elizabeth? I don't expect you to help me with my business, but can't you at least not drag me down?" Natalie, in a bid to win back his favor, decided she needed to get a job. She couldn't bear the thought of being completely dependent on Anthony for respect. But of course, everything she touched turned to disaster. Papers were ruined, items were broken, and she wore the most pathetic expression of feigned innocence, always playing the victim. But the truth was, nobody outside of Anthony could stand her. Her mistakes were constant, and she was fired time and time again from every assistant position she took. Meanwhile, the Liu family's situation deteriorated further. Anthony, too proud to grovel and seek out new business opportunities, lost yet another major client. And just like that, Liu Corporation had had enough of him. Once a brilliant strategist, Anthony's arrogance had gotten the better of him. He couldn't bring himself to lower his status and beg the companies he once looked down upon for help. The new CEO of Liu Corporation, a man with a messy past. Wasn't much better, but at least he could throw a decent party. And naturally, Luciana and I attended in full glamour, savoring the spectacle. Chapter 14. To my surprise, Natalie showed up at the party as well, arm in arm with another man who, according to gossip, was just her assistant. Of course, the innocent and delicate girl had no shortage of admirers wherever she went. When she spotted me, her body visibly stiffened, as if she was bracing for an attack. The man she was with whispered something in her ear, and after a moment of hesitation, she cast a nervous glance in my direction before retreating to a quiet corner to sit alone. I wasn't interested in confronting her, after all. She always wore that pitiful, wronged expression, and frankly, it irritated me. From a distance, I noticed several women from our social circle slowly edging their way toward Natalie. She didn't even seem to notice their approach. Natalie was delicately nibbling at a small cake, looking every bit the cute, naive girl the world seemed to love. And then, smack, the cake was knocked out of her hands, splattering across the sofa and wall, leaving a mess of cream behind. Oops, my heel's a bit too high. Sorry. I twisted my ankle. It was Sandra, the lead instigator of the whole affair, laughing loudly and carelessly as she deliberately collided with Natalie. Sandra and I had always been rivals, competing for everything from academic success to attention. She had always been jealous of me, especially when it came to Anthony. It was no secret that she liked him, but since Lou family and I had been engaged, she had to swallow her envy. Now that I had broken off the engagement, she probably thought she had a chance. But seeing Anthony settle for someone like Natalie, someone who was practically a nobody in comparison to her, made her blood boil. Sandra wasn't about to let this opportunity slide. A few other wealthy girls, who had been hanging around her, began to close in on Natalie. Their eyes were full of malice, and it was so obvious even a fool could see it. Natalie was still blissfully unaware of the danger, her large eyes wide and innocent as she stammered. What are you doing?" Sandra, with a mocking smile, eyed Natalie up and down. "I heard that Lou's eldest son abandoned Elizabeth for a woman like you. I had to come and see who you are." She let out a disdainful laugh. "So, this is it, huh?" Another young lady chimed in with a sneer. "Seems like Lou's been eating steak and lobster for so long. He's finally settling for some rice porridge." Natalie wasn't completely clueless, and she could clearly understand the insults they were throwing at her. Her eyes quickly filled with tears, her whole face betraying a mix of humiliation and stubbornness. "Oh, are we missing a man here?" One of them sneered. "Is this pathetic act supposed to make us feel sorry for you?" One of the bolder socialites, who couldn't stand women like Natalie who always played the damsel in distress, sneered even more. Her father had once kept a woman who behaved exactly like Natalie, and it had turned out to be a total mess. You can't insult me like this," Natalie stammered. "I'm just stating the facts." "Sweetheart, what's wrong? You're just the mistress. After all," Sandra mocked as they all crowded around her. The cruel taunting went on for what felt like forever. The fact that Natalie wasn't particularly pretty or smart, and had no real standing in their world, made her the perfect target for their cruel amusement. Sandra, clearly pleased with her handiwork, took a glass of champagne and accidentally splashed it all over Natalie's pristine white dress. "Oops. Sorry. I was laughing so hard my hand slipped," Sandra giggled, utterly delighted by the scene she had created, before strolling off with her group. As Natalie stood there, humiliated and stunned, I couldn't help but wonder, is this how the rich and powerful treat others with no status? Was this how they trample on people who had nothing, simply because they could? But for Natalie, the worst wasn't Sandra or the cruel girls at the party. No, she hated me the most. She hated how I always seemed to be above it all, beautiful, calm, intelligent, wealthy. I had everything she could never have, and she resented me for it. It was completely unfair in her eyes. After all, I was born into privilege, while she had to fight for scraps. And yet, here I was, taking the man she loved, living the life she dreamed of. She felt like she was the one being mocked by the world, while I got everything handed to me on a silver platter. The more she thought about it, the more she loathed me, as I danced across the floor, in my elegant little black dress, twirling gracefully as if I were the very embodiment of perfection. Natalie's fury only grew. Why was I allowed to live my life this way? Untouched by hardship, untouched by ridicule? Why was I allowed to be everything she could never be? Her eyes burned with hatred, and in that moment, she made a decision. She would bring me down, just like she had been brought down, and make sure I felt the sting of humiliation she had suffered. Her plan was already forming in her mind. Chapter 15. I really never expected Natalie, the usually meek and fragile girl, to turn into a vicious, biting rabbit. As I sat in the meeting, the big screen that had been showing a presentation suddenly went black, only to be replaced by a sequence of images that appeared out of nowhere. The pictures on the screen showed Victor and me dining alone in a restaurant, him driving me home, and some images, due to the angles, gave the impression of us being unusually close, even suggesting an embrace. But that wasn't all. There were other men too. Some with me at meals, others with me entering hotels. Each image came with an explosive headline: Ning heiress dumped by Liu Young master, the shocking truth. Scandal, Ning heiress's open private life. Rich families are a mess. All eyes in the boardroom immediately turned to me, their gazes full of curiosity and suspicion, though none dared to ask directly. I stared at those photos, my mind working through the implications. Since they were displayed here, it meant that someone had already leaked them online. The timing was bad, and I couldn't help but wonder how much damage it would do to the company. Suddenly, one of the staff members burst into the room, whispering urgently into the finance director's ear. Her face went pale as she stammered, "The tax bureau is here. They say they've received an anonymous report alleging that our company has evaded taxes to the tune of nearly 500 million. The room erupted in chaos. What had started as idle gossip among the shareholders had now turned into a direct threat to their profits. I quickly silenced the room, my voice cold. "What's going on?" The person who'd entered the room, David, was visibly nervous, his voice barely above a whisper as he looked at the floor. "I noticed this morning that the records for the tax payments for the first half of the year were completely blank." His words grew softer, and I could feel my temper rising. "Blank? What do you mean, blank? Why wasn't this reported earlier?" His voice was barely audible. It was only after you logged in to check the accounts recently that I noticed it." The room fell deathly silent. All eyes shifted to me, scrutinizing and questioning. "Miss Ning, as far as I know, checking financial records requires prior notification to the finance director. Your actions," the finance director paused, her voice trembling, "your actions seem inappropriate. Normally, this might have been something I could easily brush off. But given the current situation, things were much more serious. 500 million wasn't a small sum, and tax evasion was a crime that the government heavily cracked down on. If this couldn't be explained, Ning Enterprises would not only face massive fines, but also a public relations disaster. Worse, I, along with everyone in this room, could end up in deep trouble. If possible, the finance director said cautiously, "We hope you can provide a reasonable explanation, Miss Ning." Though the others stayed silent, their eyes all carried the same look: suspicion, uncertainty, and judgment. I gritted my teeth. My reputation for decisive action had earned me some respect. But right now, even that might not be enough. "Apologies," I said, keeping my voice even, though frustration simmered beneath the surface. "I only found out about this just now. I'll give everyone a reasonable and satisfactory explanation." The meeting is adjourned. I slammed the documents on the table, rubbing my temples as a headache began to set in. My assistant, Alex, stepped forward cautiously, offering me a cup of coffee. "Alex, where are the people from the tax bureau?" I asked, squinting at him. Alex reported in a low voice, "They've been waiting in the break room, but the financial reports that weren't deleted still have serious discrepancies. The import prices for materials don't match. What should we do?" I froze. There was no doubt that Ning Enterprises had paid taxes, so the tax bureau had records, but the company's books had been altered, and the actual amounts couldn't be trusted anymore. "Alex, call the police," I ordered coldly. My heart turned to ice. If we couldn't prove Ning Enterprises' innocence, it was over. Whoever was behind the sabotage would not go unpunished. I suddenly thought of Natalie's son, that clever little boy, now over 5 years old, had a knack for hacking. He had once even hacked Lou Enterprises' website after a spat between Natalie and Anthony, causing a major disruption and leaving behind a message that read, "Anthony is an idiot." I swore under my breath. I quickly typed out a message. "Get me a reliable hacker. Now." Luciana, got it. Victor, understood. Sandra, Sandra, of all people, replied sarcastically, "Oh, so now Elizabeth's asking for my help?" Her message was followed by a smug series of texts. "Call me Sandy's sister, and I might consider it." I stared at my phone in disbelief. What was going on? Sandra wasn't one to back down easily. I had to admit, this was one of the last people I thought would come to my aid. Yet there she was. I finally replied, dripping with sweetness. "Thank you, Sandy's sister." I wasn't about to turn down any help. Her reply came in a huff. "Ugh, so fake." She was clearly displeased by my politeness, but I was beyond caring. "Please, come in," I said, keeping a smile on my face. When Sandra walked into the room, followed by her cold-faced man, I was momentarily stunned. He immediately walked to an empty computer, logging into the company's IP account. I nudged Sandra, who was looking way too pleased with herself. "Wow, when did you switch tastes? Not chasing after Anthony anymore?" Sandra's boyfriend didn't respond, but his cold eyes flicked toward us as he typed away. Sandra jumped to her feet. "Shut up. I love my baby now." Her man was impressive. While many others had failed to recover the modified records, he managed to restore them with ease. Not only that, but after I mentioned a few key details, he had already pinpointed the IP address of the intruder. I had a feeling I knew who was behind it, but without proof. I couldn't implicate anyone just yet. When he broke into Lou's database, I was left momentarily speechless. "Sir, where do you work? Ning Enterprises could really use a talent like you." Sandra, furious, snapped, "Stop trying to poach him right in front of me." Just then, the police arrived with an arrest warrant. Natalie, looking completely stunned, muttered, "How could this happen?" The little boy, who had been standing in the corner, looked horrified. You really hacked my..." I couldn't help but smirk, enjoying the moment. "Little kid, there's always someone better. Don't you know that?" The police, along with the tax bureau agents, were stunned that someone so young could wield such advanced hacking skills. But the evidence was undeniable. As the police moved to arrest Lu Ting, Natalie's mother suddenly stepped forward and slapped her across the face. "I should have kicked you out long ago. You've ruined my son's life. And now you're ruining your own child." Natalie was in a daze, mumbling incoherently, "It wasn't supposed to be like this." Anthony, now relegated to his usual drunken stupor, was completely out of touch. I filed a lawsuit against Natalie and her son for their involvement in hacking into company systems, altering crucial tax records, and framing Ning Enterprises for tax evasion. The evidence was overwhelming, and they couldn't escape justice. As for Lu Ting, being too young to face criminal charges, he was sent for psychological evaluation. In court, Natalie could only weep, covering her face in shame. She was found guilty of encouraging her son to commit a crime, and she would have to pay compensation. As the verdict was read, she passed me on her way out, eyes burning with hatred. "Elizabeth, I really hate you, but I also envy you." I didn't respond. I turned and left without a word. Thanks to Sandra's hacker boyfriend, Ning Enterprises was saved from the brink of collapse. The deleted records were recovered, and the hacker who had infiltrated our system was identified. The photos, meanwhile, didn't cause much harm to me personally. After all, I wasn't in the entertainment industry. But for the sake of the company's image, public relations clarified that these were just professional relationships with partners. Still, Victor couldn't resist throwing in a cryptic comment. "Just partners." Huh? What was he trying to imply? I couldn't tell, but one thing was certain, the real battle was only just beginning. Extra, Victor, I am a pathological madman. Since I was old enough to understand, that woman has been muttering in my ear, "Why can't you be more capable? It's all your fault that you don't have the smarts of the Liu family. And you couldn't keep your father." Can't you think about your mother, Vic? She said such things countless times, especially as the boy from the Liu family, a year older than me, grew more outstanding. The man came less and less often, and she finally grew more insane. It went from daily nagging to crazy curses, to slapping me whenever my grades fell below 95. If I had known you were this useless, it would have been better if I just strangled you at birth. Vic, please, try harder. You don't want to lose your father, do you? In fact, I knew a long time ago, that man was not just my father. He was also the husband and father of another family. My mother was a disgraceful mistress. She talked so nicely about wanting to keep my father and give me a complete childhood. But the truth is, it was all for her own benefit. Being a third party for so long, maybe it really drove her insane. After my father came less and less, she panicked. She didn't want to lose him. So she started pestering the woman from the Liu family and that boy who was about the same age as me. But it wasn't until that one time, after whatever had happened with Anthony, that she completely broke down. She raged, cursing Mrs. Liu, Anthony, even my biological father, and me. Growing up in such a stifling environment, I couldn't understand why a man would want two families. And so, when she found out I had hidden a test paper with a low score again, she exploded. Victor, why are you so useless? If you could be even a little better than Anthony, your father wouldn't have left us. She made me kneel, slapping my face with that disgraceful test paper. In my youthful arrogance, I retaliated with a cruel response. Why am I so useless? Isn't it because of you, my mother? Seeing her eyes widen in disbelief, I maliciously laughed. Why is Anthony so smart? Isn't it because his mother is smart? Why doesn't my dad like me? Isn't it because you couldn't keep a man's heart? My mother? Are you cursing me for being useless? Or are you cursing yourself? They say only those who are familiar with each other can understand each other's weaknesses. My words seemed to have dealt her a fatal blow. She covered her ears and screamed, running back to her room, refusing to cook for me, and not cursing me anymore. I ran out of that stifling house, wanting to get as far away as possible, never to return. I stopped in my tracks. In a beautiful shop window, a girl in a black dress danced gracefully, her toes lightly tapping, as if stepping on the wind, with freedom and joy. Her proud face, her swan-like neck, resembled the unreachable princess in a fairy tale. So far from someone like me, a rat in the gutter. I stared at her, watching her finish a dance, her frosty face turning into a smile like blooming flowers. Running to another young man, the two of them whispered to each other. And for a moment, I felt something in my chest crack open. That face had been hated for 10 years. Anthony, I have to admit, you were born lucky. When I returned to the cold home, I saw a crowd of people in white uniforms, lifting a woman into an ambulance. Red blood soaked through her pale wrist, dripping along the way. My mother, how cruel she was, letting me watch her pale face until the blood completely drained from her. I heard the doctor say, "I'm really sorry." When the patient was brought in, she had already lost too much blood. What else he said, I couldn't hear anymore, because I saw my hands covered in crimson blood, sticky and cold. It was like the sky had collapsed, and the earth split apart. It was I who killed her. No, not just me. The man from the Liu family. He was an accomplice. After my mother died, he came to see me, but still left me alone in that cold house. When darkness covered everything, I saw her standing at the window, blood dripping from her wrist. I wanted to help her stop the bleeding, but she just smiled foolishly. You're all trying to kill me. You're all forcing me to die. Ha ha ha. I don't know what choked my throat. It used to feel like there was a transparent wall between us, and no matter how hard I tried, I could never get close to her. I woke up countless times in a dream, hearing her cry, accusing me of killing her. Another night of nightmares passed, and I climbed onto the rooftop. Looking at the tiny cars below, I thought to myself that life seemed pointless. Whoa, looks like I came at an inconvenient time. A voice behind me feigned indifference, but it inadvertently revealed a hint of tension. Don't mind me, go ahead, I said. But when I turned around, I saw her trying to act calm. Though her legs were shaking, her proud demeanor resembled that of the black swan from earlier. Perhaps a dream before death. She belonged to Anthony. How could she be here? But she took one step after another toward me. I realized she was also afraid of heights. As her face slowly turned pale, I was about to say something when she suddenly pushed me. Stop dragging your feet. If you want to jump, do it quickly. The wind on the rooftop was strong, lifting the hem of her black dress. And for a moment, her silhouette was frozen in the air like a pair of black wings, her eyes shining with a mixture of pride, mockery, and playfulness, so beautiful. It was breathtaking. I thought maybe that bottle of Baraka I had earlier had hit me. And in that moment, I lost my mind. The sensation of weightlessness enveloped me. And for an instant, the world went dark, only to be followed by an explosion of stars, lighting up the darkness. When I landed heavily on the safety mat, I suddenly felt a sense of relief, a huge wave of survival instinct washing over me. I used to mock my mother for losing herself because of loving someone so much, even willing to be his mistress. But now, I had caught the same disease, this disease called longing, called jealousy, and I welcomed it. Elizabeth asked me if I wanted to compete with Anthony. She didn't know. From the moment I laid eyes on her to when I fell for her, I had already decided I wouldn't let her go to Anthony. Anthony is a prodigy, but unfortunately, his talents and luck were bought with his eyes. Otherwise, how could he have lost Elizabeth and ended up with a woman like Natalie? I'm so grateful for his arrogance and pride. He offended the company's shareholders. And not to mention the clients, small problems led to big ones. He finally got bitten by his own actions. And most importantly, he lost Elizabeth. Lou's corporation was on the decline. And suddenly, those relatives from the Lou family remembered me. They elected me to take the position, to calm the shareholders' anger. Elizabeth wanted to back out. I told her there was no need. I didn't care about Lou's corporation, I wanted it destroyed. I had already established my own company, but I found that my illness seemed to be getting worse. In the past, I only needed to be close to her. Now, my greed was out of control. I craved to possess her. The fear of losing her and the frustration of not having her tortured me. Every time I saw those photos of her and Anthony, I wanted to hide Elizabeth. Keep her in a place only I knew. Luciana was so annoying. Her hand was wrapped around the girl's waist, whispering something too close. It was so glaring, but Elizabeth was smiling so happily, and it made me feel so frustrated. I invited Elizabeth to dinner. I had already noticed someone was taking photos. After she left, I stopped them and handed them my card. As our couple rumors spread, I switched to a fake account and liked every post on Weibo that said we should be together. The joy in my heart was like bamboo shoots sprouting after rain. That joy was short-lived when she issued a denial. We are just business partners. No, I don't believe it. In the bar, I ordered all the drinks. And after drinking a while, I called my assistant. I'm drunk. No one can take me away except Elizabeth. A cup of liquor, half spilled on my clothes. And soon, the table was covered with empty bottles. When Elizabeth appeared in the crowd, I spotted her immediately. Damn it! Someone tried to flirt with her. I pulled her into my arms tightly, shouting at the man, "She's mine. Get lost!" "How much have you had to drink?" Elizabeth asked, worried. Is something wrong? Did something happen at the company? Elizabeth, never so close to her. I could hardly speak. Elizabeth. After drinking so much, I thought I wasn't drunk, but holding her in my arms, I was. Her waist was so soft and delicate. She thought I was drunk, and bent down to help support me. If she looked up, she would meet my burning gaze. Her eyebrows, her eyes, her lips. I wanted to kiss her. I wanted to keep her, to possess her. I let her guide me to a hotel, but I didn't want her to leave. No. I couldn't let her go. I couldn't wait any longer. I didn't want the distance between us anymore. Our relationship shouldn't just be business, and we shouldn't just be casual friends. In the darkness, I pushed her against the wall, opened my still clear eyes, and with a hoarse voice said, "Elizabeth, don't go. Are you drunk?" She frowned. "I'm sober. I've never been so sober." Elizabeth. Breaths mingled, and the tension spread. "Do you like me?" I couldn't see her expression clearly, but there was a light in her eyes. No disgust towards me. This realization made me ecstatic and bold. Finally, I confessed, "I love you, Elizabeth. I love you."